Good evening. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining Respus Live. Happy Monday, everyone. Happy Monday. It is such a great day to be alive. And thank each of you for signing on this Monday evening. If you would please start a watch party and share this podcast. I promise you, you're in for a treat on tonight. So if you would take a moment and share this podcast and start a watch party on tonight. And if someone would please hashtag our subject, our topic tonight is behind the badge. If we could put that in the comments, please. Behind the badge is what we're going to be talking about tonight. So again, if you would just take a moment and start a watch party and share this video. Thank you guys so much for joining on. Thank you, Karen Corbett, for signing on tonight. Thank you so much. Sheena Hewitt, thank you so much for signing on. Pastor Armour, thank you so much for signing on tonight. Shirley Wheaton, thank you so much for signing on tonight. I'm so glad to have each of you here on tonight. Thank you so much for sharing the video. Sabrina Richardson, thank you for signing on tonight. Renee and Pastor Terry Henry. Dr. Henry, thank you for being on the show tonight. Thank each of you for signing on tonight. So again, our topic is hashtag behind the badge. We have two amazing officers with us here on tonight, and we're going to be talking about behind the badge. We'll be discussing about life behind the badge and how amazing it is, and that there are people, and sometimes we don't get a chance to see that. All we see is the officers. But tonight we get to meet the men behind the badge on tonight. So we have the finest out of Brunswick County, and you know I'm crazy about Brunswick County. Been living there since 1999, and there's no place like Brunswick County. I am Brunswick County strong. So again, thank you guys for coming. We have two amazing officers from the Brunswick County Sheriff's Office with us on tonight. We have First Sergeant Stevenson with us on tonight and Officer Boynton. Did I do good?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. We're so glad to have you guys with us here on tonight. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule to come to Respus Live and to share with our viewers on tonight. So again, our subject is behind the badge, because behind the badge is a person. And so many times we don't get to see the person behind the badge. All we see is the badge. And I am inclined to believe there are good officers behind the badge. And tonight, I know I have two fine officers in the studio on tonight, and we're so grateful. We're so grateful to have you join us tonight. And again, we're asking each of you to start a watch party. Thank you, Sharon Akins, for joining on tonight. Miss Miller, Randy Miller, thank you guys for signing. Tiffany Jones, thank you for coming on tonight. We're so grateful to have each of you on the Respus Live on tonight. So again, we're talking about behind the badge, and we have two amazing officers with us on tonight from Brunswick County Sheriff's Office. First Sergeant Stevenson and Officer Boynton are here tonight. So we're going to start. I'm just going to ask a question, and this is a question that, I've asked you before going on air. And one of the things that has been in the news lately, and the things that we've had to deal with, of course, COVID-19 has changed the way you patrol. It's changed the way you serve the people. It's changed everything. So this has been quite a year. We have seen so many things, from racial inequality to COVID-19 to having to wear masks in public. I was sitting in the car the other day and I was like, this is unreal that we have to walk around with masks now. So life has changed, and I don't think it'll ever be normal again. So again, tell me how it has changed for you as being officers, because I know you can't patrol the same. I know you can't interact with people the same. So we'll start with you, First Sergeant. How has COVID-19 changed you as far as how you do your job?
I guess first off, like you mentioned, we have to wear masks pretty much everywhere we go. If we go into somebody's house for any type of call, got to wear a mask. It kind of takes away, I guess, the face of us, literally. We try to be personable people as well as officers once we're on scene, but it kind of takes that away in one aspect. But anytime you see us out and about, if we go into a convenience store to grab a drink, go into a restaurant, if we go to a call somewhere, we're always wearing masks, and it's difficult to get used to. It took us a while to remember to do that because it's not the normal, and now it is the normal. And it just changed up a few things. Every day, we're dishing out hand sanitizer like it's candy. Just personally trying to make sure we don't carry it home to our families. I know I don't want to bring anything home, so definitely rub down with alcohol sanitizer every time we leave a call. Just kind of things we did before, but just a lot more of it, I guess.
Thank you so much. And for you, Officer Boynton.
Yeah, I pretty much just want to echo what First Sarge said. I mean, It's things that we've done a lot of already, but it's just kind of gone to the extreme just to take that extra measure to, protect ourselves, protect the public, protect our families from this virus that's been spreading. One of the biggest things for me was just whenever, mainly going into convenience stores, having to wear a mask. I never even had to think of that being something I'd have to do. Not even something I'm having to do as far as, actual duties, just going in to buy a drink.
Yes.
I have to wear this mask now.
It's true. It's been difficult for me. I don't like them, so I don't go out a lot because, honestly, after about 45 minutes, I'm like, I got to get back home because it's really difficult for some people to wear masks, and so I totally understand that. Thank you so much for joining. My mother has joined us on tonight, and Faressa Walker, Lolita Bell, Sarah Gore, Tina St. Perea, thank you so much for joining us on tonight. We're talking with First Sergeant Stevenson and Officer Boyton on tonight from the Brunswick County Sheriff's Office, and we're so glad to have them on tonight. And so patrolling has changed drastically since COVID-19. We do everything different now. We want to make sure we're safe and things of that nature. So also the George Floyd incident, incident is not even a good word to use. It was just life-changing for me to watch the video. Has both of you watched it? Or
Yes,
ma'am.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that have not watched it. They were like, I can't watch it. It was extremely difficult for me. It was horrific, to say the least, and life-changing. So tell me, and we'll start with you, Officer Boyton, how did you feel watching the video?
If you don't mind, I want to start with really how I felt whenever I first heard about the video.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
When I first heard about the video, it kind of, at first it was like, well, this is another thing that might be one of those officer-involved shootings that might be questionable. But actually watching it, that's when I realized there's not much question with this one.
Yeah.
You got a gentleman that's being held down. At that time, when he's being held down, it's not necessarily being combative. And even going further than that point, the guy's obviously in medical distress. You got people around you telling you, hey, he's got issues. He's saying, things like, I can't breathe, stuff like that. And then next thing you know, the gentleman's dead.
Yeah.
Got a guy that has an officer that has his knee on the guy's neck. That's not something that we are trained to do, at least here in Brunswick County.
Yes.
I can't speak for that department, of course.
Right.
But here in Brunswick County, seeing
Absolutely.
that happen, it raises a red flag for me. So seeing it hurt. I didn't like it. It was it more than anything, it was a person that had been wrongfully killed. And then also it's another thing that just paints us, wearing the uniform and the badge in a bad light.
Exactly.
And it's just another thing that we are going to have to defend ourselves against, dealing with the public, explaining, hey, that's not how we operate. Again, can't speak for those people, but I can tell you the majority of us that wear this uniform and wear this badge are not like that.
Yes, and it's so good to hear that, and that's one of the reasons why I spoke with Emily and Felicia about having you on, because we can't put everybody in a box. All officers are not bad. All of them are not good. All people aren't good, and all people aren't bad. So tonight I wanted to let the Respus Live viewers know that that's not the case. All officers don't feel that way, and that watching that video was painful for you as an officer, because actually you can look at it and see everything that went wrong from an officer's perspective. Like, we weren't trained that way. This is not how we were trained to apprehend a suspect. And so knowing that, it was difficult for you to watch, and then also difficult to hear him cry for his mom and that he can't breathe. I was hoping the outcome would be different when I was watching it, and I was like on the edge of my seat. It was just so difficult to watch, and then to hear the bystander say, he's in distress. One lady says, I'm an EMS. He is in distress, and so just to watch that, it was just awful. I think the Lord slowed the world down during the pandemic so that everyone had to watch it, because we weren't out to the movies. We weren't out to dinner. Yeah. We were home, and we had to watch it. And I really believe that He paused us so that we can see that, so that the movement can begin, because His death has not been in vain. I have been on calls. I have interviewed people, and I've seen people that says, we don't want this trend to continue. We want to stop this. We want to show that, all officers are not the same. All people don't feel that way. We have hearts, we are compassionate to people. And so that's what we want to talk about tonight. Behind the badge, there's a compassionate heart, that want to go home to your family. You want to come home for dinner. And so we want everyone to understand that not all officers are the same, and they all don't have that heart. So first, Sergeant, tell me about your experience with the video or prior to, or just hearing about it.
Yes, ma'am. I can't remember if we were working that day or came back the next day, but I try not to look at my news 24/7 on my phone, but I heard about it from another deputy. My first thought was just like Deputy Boynton's, whereas it might be like any other situation. You just got to hold back, wait for the facts, and want to see the video once it comes available. Once I viewed the video, while I was viewing it, I was cringing. It was ugly, to say the least.
Yes.
It's hard to describe that situation in general. I just, to reiterate what you both said, not all of us are like that. There's a few bad apples everywhere, and
Absolutely.
It's very unfortunate. I completely disagree with what happened.
Absolutely.
But I feel like we should move forward.
Absolutely.
And like we're doing here tonight,
Exactly.
just try to make it seem that
Yes, I love
try
it.
to show the light that we're actually people behind the badge. We're out there trying to do things. I've personally known deputies to go out and they'll stop a car for whatever you want to think of, and personally known of a situation where the deputy went and bought the people a car seat for their child in the back seat.
Yes.
Because what good is it going to do to write them a ticket for that when they can't afford to pay the ticket? They can't afford to buy a car seat.
Yes.
They spent their own money and bought a top-of-the-line car seat for that family.
Yeah.
And that's, that deputy went well above and beyond.
He did.
But that, I think, in general describes how most of us feel about our job. We love our job. We're out here to serve the public.
Yes.
And at the end of the night, we all want to go home to our families.
Absolutely.
We want everyone else to go home to their families, too.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. My pastor said that that's how we do it. That's how we that's not how we operate. He was really compelled about that statement that you made, because you made it very clear that in Brunswick County, that's not how you operate. That's not how you apprehend a suspect. Thank all of you for signing on. Thank you, Mama Edna, for signing on. It's so good to see you. Garrett, Jordan, thank you for signing on. Brenda, Howard, Pamela Hill, Manisha, Shika Haynes, thank you so much for signing on tonight. Y'all please share this podcast on tonight. It's some good information. And our subject, if you would, hashtag is we want you to understand that behind the badge there are people that are compassionate, and I can see how uncomfortable both of you were about watching that video, and it has changed my life. It has made me want to utilize my voice like we're doing on tonight and speaking with you guys to let people know that that is not the way we're going to go forward, and we are change agents. And so that's what you do every day when you put that badge on and you go and you protect and you serve. You are change agents for Brunswick County, and we thank you for your service. And I just want people to understand as they watch Respus Live that you guys want to get home too. And so I say all the time, I tell my daughter, I say, if you ever stop, we go through the ritual because we have to.
Right.
Miss Taylor was killed in her own apartment. We used to have to talk to our sons, but now our daughters, all of our family we have to have that conversation. And so I tell her all the time, this is what you do when you're stopped. You put your hands, you don't move. If you move, you tell the officer what you're going to do. And now is not the time to talk back, because these young kids, she has a pure conversation about how she feels about everything. That is not the time to go into a dissertation or dialogue. You answer the questions and you use the manners that you were taught. And we just want you to get home. I said, once you get home, I can handle it as your mom. But my main thing is for you to get home safe. And I want the people to understand that I feel the same way about you as well as you, First Sergeant. I want you to get home to your family safe. There's somebody waiting for you to come home. And we don't want the world to think that all officers are bad and that all cops are bad. That's not the case. And we will not allow one video or other videos to change the dynamics of how we feel about our officers. And that's why we're here on tonight. I refuse to allow that person to take away from the good officers that serve and protect us. I was at home the other night. It had to be after 12. My Ring doorbell went off. And when I looked through my phone, it was a local Leland police officer. And I said, yes, ma'am, because I'm nervous. My daughter isn't home. I'm thinking, you know how it is.
Right.
And she's like, ma'am, you left your garage door open. And I was like, how cool is that? So I didn't know her name, but I went immediately to Facebook and I was like, I took a picture of the my ring cam. I was like, I don't know who she is, but I am so grateful. So I jumped up and put the garage down, and I thought that was excellent community service. She didn't have to do that, but that's the type of officers that we have in Brunswick County and the Leland Police Department. I want to give them a shout out. Thank you so much, officer. I don't know her name, but I was grateful that she took the time to park her vehicle to come to the door to let me know I left my garage up. And then a couple of days, I saw something moving in my garage. I'm gonna share this story, and I promise I'm gonna keep going. And I automatically thought it's the worst, like it's got to be a raccoon or something in here, and I couldn't figure out what it was. So I was panicking. I was like, I got to get somebody to come and see what happened. So for days, I guess because my garage was up, it was a kitten that came into the garage, and so I had my neighbors pulling out stuff, and she was like, "Oh, it's just a kitten." I was scared to death, but I'm so grateful that she took the time out of her schedule and her office, to come in and to serve our community like that. So I was just so grateful. So I'm grateful for the work that you guys do. I'm grateful that behind the badge there is a person. So tell me, Officer Boyton, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right.
You're doing fine.
So I understand. So how has that changed you? I mean, moving forward, what do you want to do differently?
Well, for one, really even just this right here, what I'm doing, that has been a big way that I've stepped out personally. Anybody that knew me, even when I first started law enforcement, knew that I was not the person to get up on social media and
really
talk about my opinion on this stuff, or, even really be vulnerable about myself and how I feel about a lot of things. But one of the most important things that came about with all that was just me letting my voice be heard.
Yes.
And hopefully that being encouragement for others to kind of, step out of their box and let their voice be heard, to, play their part in humanizing the badge,
Yes.
And honestly, I think
I
not
love
just
that.
me, but others that have also stepped out before and around the same time as me and after have all played a big part in that.
Yeah. And that was one of the things that I did differently, because on social media and Respus Live, I didn't talk about politics. I didn't talk about anything. It was just encouraging, inspirational. I wasn't dealing with that because I was like, so enough of that on TV.
Those are all triggers. You don't want to mess with it.
And so when this happened, it changed my life. It changed entire how I looked at things. So I said, this is something that we need to talk about. We do need to hear voices. We need this conversation. We need to have this dialogue. People need to understand that it's okay to talk about it and to share how you feel and still be respectful at the end of the day, even if we don't agree with one another. Our voices are important. And this is a great way for us to move forward and become change agents, talking about it. Let the community know that this is not how we operate in Brunswick County. Our viewers need to hear that.
Right.
They need to understand that in Brunswick County, this is not how we detain a suspect. This is not how we were trained. And so I love how you let us know off top that that's not what we do in Brunswick County. And that is great. And our viewers need to know that all officers are not bad, and that we are here. You are here to protect and serve the community. That's what you took.
That's what we took an oath for. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If you're in it for any other reason, you've gotten into it for the wrong reason.
Absolutely. And so for you, First Sergeant, how has it changed you? Has it made a difference as far as how you move forward?
I guess off the top of my head, just dealing with people on scenes that we go to, whether it be a domestic or anything else, if we do happen to use force or go hands-on with someone, obviously explaining to that person why their actions led to that and why we're doing what we're doing, more so than prior. Whereas before, we would handle business, but always try to be polite and professional at all times. But even more so now, trying to explain to people and going out of our way to show people, stopping to help disabled vehicles. I know we've had a few Facebook posts about that recently to the office about people posting deputies helping them change a tire on the side of the road. I mean, just going out of their way to make interaction, make contact with people, normal civilians, and just going out of our way to just be nice to people, because in our heart, that's how we all are. We want to be there to protect and serve, but at the end of the day, we want people to understand why we're there, what we're doing, and move forward from that point.
And we have tons of questions. I was just looking through the feed. We have tons of questions from our viewers. A lot of them want to know, will more training? Do you know if training will help some of the officers? Will it impact the police departments and the sheriff offices? Training with how to deal with suspects, those that are mentally challenged, those that have issues. do you think training would be helpful for the? Not all officers need it, but I think racial bias and racial injustice in all kinds of training would be helpful. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would help, if nothing else, to help the individual officer have a form of perspective on the situation. Maybe if they had any kind of deficiency on how they would actually handle a situation. Otherwise, with that training, it may be something that they can fall back on in their head and, be like, hey, I remember this in my training, maybe I should approach it this way instead of a different way. Gives them options.
Sheriff Ingram is on, and he says, thank you for having us on tonight. Thank you, Sheriff Ingram, for allowing two of your most awesome officers to come and join Respus Live. Thank you so much, Sheriff. I really appreciate you allowing them to come and be a part of our audience, because our audience here that watch Respus Live need to understand that behind the badge are officers that want to get home safe, that want to serve and protect the people of Brunswick County. That's why you took the oath. And so there's a question from Garrett Jordan, my classmate. He says, what is the vetting process to become an officer? So
I guess to begin with, you have to have a pretty clean slate. I mean, people are people. We all make mistakes, but you want to have a decent record. You got to apply. There's an interview process, a background check, and we want to make sure that we're hiring people that are competent people that also have that same heart as the rest of us that want to protect and serve folks. But it's a process. Usually takes around 6 months or so, just varying on the agency, but typically about 6 months. And that whole process allows us to vet someone to make sure that they're someone we want to work with. That's someone I want to give a badge to and trust with my life. I trust David with my life,
and vice versa.
And we can rely on each other. And
that's important.
It's very important. That's something we're adamant about, is that at the end of the day, I want to be able to trust you that you're going to make sure I'm going to get home at the end of the day, and you're going to trust me that you're getting home at the end of the day. Yeah,
that is very important. That is very, very important. I remember I used to work at the prison, and I started on third shift. And at the prison, you would go into the what they call the barracks. It looks like a barrack, and they close the door, so there's the officers in there with 60 inmates. So it was his first night. And I could tell he was a little timid. And so once we got on lockdown and locked those doors and he got in there, he started beating on the window. He was like, let me out, let me out, let me out. And I was like, let him out, because now is the time we need to know that he's afraid. I don't need to know that he's afraid when somebody has me pinned down, getting ready to take my life. I need to know before we get into a situation that he's afraid. And I respect him for that. So it's not for everyone. Being an officer is not for everyone. Right. And so it's good that you have that process that you can see if they can stand the pressure, because you don't want to be in the midst of a situation and you need somebody to help you. They running or hiding. That is not cool. And so I respected him to the highest, that he realized at that time, this is not for me. And it is so important for officers to understand that if this is not for you, then it's okay to back away. It's okay to find another job. And I was grateful, because I didn't want an inmate to have a shank to my neck to find out that he was scared.
Exactly.
That would be the wrong time. And they weren't in there for singing too loud in church. So so I had to watch my back at all times. I am a trained observer, and working at the prison system helped me. So I check my surroundings 24/7. So I do have a little background in law enforcement. And I did want to be a cop when I was little for some reason. I think it's just the waistband or the belt and the gun and the badge. That just makes me feel like powerful, like Superwoman or something. So I always wanted to be a police officer, but life changed and it didn't work out for me. I was a correctional officer for years. And one thing that I learned, my grandmother taught me, and she taught me that if you treat people with respect, most of the time they will be respectful. Have you found that to be true, First Sergeant, in your career?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Like I told you before, I worked somewhere else before, and I think Sheriff Ingram would reiterate this. Comply now, complain later if you want to. And that really helps every situation work itself out, because most people, I'm going to go up and be very polite and professional with them. But if you start giving me attitude, I've got to now deal with that and still try to explain to you what we're working with and get to the end result of the call. So by all means, being polite and respectful works both ways. I'm a big proponent of that.
Yes.
I try to be very polite and respectful to everyone I encounter. And most of the time, people are polite afterwards. I mean, it may wind up on the flip side, but for for the most
Happens from
part. We
time to
try that.
time.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is true. So you say comply and complain later.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what when I interviewed the chief of police for Wilmington, he also said the same thing. That was one of the things that I was asking him. I said, give us some pointers for our viewers how to get home safe and what to do when you're stopped, because I think so many people get scared, and that's when things go wrong. So I was asking him some of the things to do, and that was one of the things that he mentioned. He says you can complain later, but but at this moment, what you need to do is just comply to everything that's said for you to do, and then later file your grievances if there are grievances. And I feel like that is some excellent information. So, is there anything that you could share with our viewers of when they're stopped, some of the things that they can do to make sure that the stop goes smooth? Because every person in the car isn't a bad person,
Right.
and every officer that comes to the car isn't a bad person. So what are some key things that we can do and educate our viewers on how to respond when you are stopped by the police department or the sheriff's office?
I think it's very important for the person being stopped to understand that when we're approaching their vehicle, there's a lot of unknowns. We don't know that person. We don't know what that person's intentions may be whenever we approach their door. So with that in mind, as the person being stopped, keep your hands where they're visible. Make sure that you make it known if you have a weapon in the vehicle, if it's legal or whatever. Let us know. If you're asked to step out of the vehicle, do it. Just comply. It's not the time to argue when we're on the side of the road.
Yeah.
Let that happen in the courts. If there is an unlawful request, keep document of it, unless it's something extreme, of course. But, for the most part, like First Sarge said, comply, complain later.
Absolutely. So how does it feel? Because now, do you guys wear the camera as well?
Yes, ma'am, we do.
Yes, ma'am.
So-
we don't have our mounts on right now just for being here, but we do wear body cameras.
Yeah, I was like, am I being recorded? I'm just kidding.
No.
So how does that make you feel, First Sergeant, knowing that you have the camera on? Does it change the dynamics or the way that you patrol?
It messed with me mentally at first, just because it was odd coming from another agency that did not have them to Brunswick County Sheriff's Office, which did. But as far as doing my job, it didn't affect me at all. I still carried out things the exact same way. I just had to get used to turning it on and off. And we have camera systems now that cut on automatically when you hit your lights in your car. It's like a Wi-Fi camera. So technology is advancing with that. But as far as that goes, it makes me feel good at the end of the day knowing that the entire interaction was recorded. So the whole comply now, complain later, awesome. Go ahead. I'm a person. I make mistakes. We all make mistakes. None of us are above that.
Right.
But by all means, if I did something wrong, I want to know about it.
Exactly.
Because I don't want to make that same mistake again. So it's nice for me to, one, be able to go back and see my previous interactions. But again, if a citizen has a complaint, it gives me the opportunity as a supervisor, and then supervisors above me, for my purposes as a deputy too, to view our mistakes. And if we actually make a mistake, to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Absolutely.
So I think it's awesome at the end of the day. I'm all for body cameras.
Okay. What about you, Sam?
Thankfully, when I started my career in law enforcement, it was right when body cameras became a thing.
Okay.
Especially, I can't say for every agency, but with the Brunswick County Sheriff's Office, I maybe went a couple of weeks without a body camera when I first got on the road. So wearing a body camera is all I know.
Exactly.
So it hasn't really changed how I conduct my business, how I speak to people, how I, operate. It hasn't changed any of that.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's a great investment that the sheriff's offices and the police offices have spent money to actually protect you as well as the citizens. I think it's great, and it's able to, as I'm sure you know, the Wilmington police officers. That's how they were caught with a private conversation from their body cam. So it has proven to be beneficial in so many different ways. And I was just wondering, had it changed the dynamics of how you serve? And it was refreshing to know that it has not, and that you do the same whether you have a camera on or not. And that's called integrity, and that's a criteria that every person should have, but especially those that have taken an oath to protect and serve the people. So it is refreshing to know that we have officers, especially in Brunswick County, my hometown, that serve and protect the people with integrity and honesty. And at the end of the day, when you go home at night, you want to rest well because you've served the people the best that you can. And as you stated, we all make mistakes and we err. but we have to use corrective measures and move forward. And so we take this movement and we move forward, and we can't change what has happened. But going forth, we can make differences in conversations like we're having now, and interviewing with people and allowing them to see behind the badge, and that you are human, and that there's things that you like to do. So tell me, when you're not working, what is like a hobby for you, something that you enjoy doing? And we'll start with you first because you're thinking.
Yeah. As odd as it may sound, one of my biggest things is just like maintaining my lawn. It's weird, like cutting the grass.
Therapeutic,
Yeah, I mean, getting out there, cutting the grass, getting the smell, the aroma of the fresh cut grass and everything. It kind of just, even though it may be hot, it's all get out, sweating, pouring down. But I mean, it's still, it gets my mind off of, work. It allows me to decompress, and it's just a good time for me. Really just being a handyman around the house. That's really what I like to do.
That's great.
Every now and again,
take the badge off, you want to, take care of home.
Every now and again, I mean, I am still a young guy, so I play video games. So I mean, that happens. So, but when the weather allows it,
save that last.
Yeah, I saved that one last. But when it comes down to, I mean, when the weather permits, I'm outside, doing something.
So you like video games? So I mean, are you serious with the headphones, talking to people? I mean, are you all in?
Yes.
Okay. I was just curious. So tell me first, Sergeant, what are some of the things that you like to do when you take the badge off?
Typically, one of the reasons I moved down here, I love going to the beach, so I try to frequent the beach as much as I can. Like David said, mowing the grass, that's by all means therapeutic. It's great to just get out there for a little bit. Even with sweat pouring down, it's still therapeutic. Getting there and seeing work of your hands. Like earlier, we were admiring the table you guys have over there, trying to figure out how that was put together. A little bit of a jack of all trades, master of none, but when it comes to home stuff. But I like doing that. Like tinkering with things. I love going to the range, practicing. So those are just things that we all do. Got a couple of deputies that we do stuff with.
Yeah.
I like going to the range to speak. I need to go. Do y'all allow like citizens to come in, or it's just for?
We do have a citizens
I think
academy.
they do. They have Citizens Academy.
Yeah, at the end of that, when they graduate, we actually do like a demonstration of different techniques, patrol techniques, SWAT techniques, and then they get to shoot at the range.
Oh, cool beans! And that was the one that Emily was telling us about that has been postponed due to COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am.
But tell me, do you know anything about it? Like, so after this is over with, maybe people will be interested in it.
I would hope so. It's definitely a great program. It offers opportunity for folks to come out there and become a volunteer with the sheriff's office. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people that I've talked to, they had no idea what all we did.
Right.
And with this, it's sort of like a short school for what we have to go through to be law enforcement officers. It's just explaining what we go through and the things we deal with every day. And then you get to see it all at the end come together.
That is awesome. That's cool. So I hope we'll be able to get back to that, and the citizens of Brunswick County can take advantage of it. I remember when I worked at the Pender County Sheriff's Office, I used to ride it. Montrina is actually on. She was a deputy. And after I would get finished working in the jail, I would go ride with her because I just found it fascinating. Just going on calls and just hanging out. So do y'all have like a ride-along program as well, or no?
They do sometimes. Mm-hmm. Typically, they're interns that work at the sheriff's office.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. It just depends, though. Typically, if there's someone coming from another agency, I've seen them ride along before. I've had several in the past. Mm-hmm. It all depends on what the person's intentions are and everything like that. So by all means, we do have that program.
Okay, I think it's a great program because I think the more we educate the people, the better off it is for us as well as for yourself. Right. Because I think education is important, in educating the people of what you do and what your job consists of. It's more than just putting a uniform on, and we see, things on TV that some of it's not realistic. But the course of your day could be from anything. And I was asking you what type of calls you had, and you was just saying how it varies. Like, you can start off with one thing, and by the end of the night, you might be in the middle of something. So you never know what's going to happen. You never know how your day is going to be or your night's going to be. So tell me, and we'll start with you first, Sergeant. Do you have a lot of fear or a rush or something when you stop a vehicle? What goes through your mind? Because now you have to look at things differently. You have to understand that I have to protect myself.
Right.
And so how do you mentally deal with that, or responding to calls that are violent or domestic or, things of that nature?
Right. There's a good quote I always remember from training was, we don't rise to the occasion, we fall to the level of our training.
I like
and
that.
with that, you know, at the end of the day, when you make a decision to stop someone or to go to a call, you're always making sure that, you know, it, regardless of whatever butterflies or anxiety comes over you, you're falling to the level of your training. You're doing what you're trained to do. You're getting out of the car, you're approaching, and you're taking care of business. I mean, we get crazy calls sometimes. People getting shot at. I mean, it varies. Anything from a simple phone call to people getting shot at. It's the life of a law enforcement officer.
It is.
But that said, you know, me personally, I have faith in God, and I pray all the time. I trust God to get me home at the end of the night safely. I've seen unfortunate events happen. The closest one to home was Trooper Kevin Connor a couple years ago. We actually did respond out to that after it happened, but that hit home hard, and it was hard to work through that.
I
and
can
then
only imagine. Yeah.
you know,
Thank you so
to be
much.
able to get up and keep doing the job that we've been doing. But by all means, I think faith is a big player. And if someone that doesn't have faith, I really don't know how you get through it.
Gosh, you are amazing. So I'm going to get to you, but I definitely have to say this. So Sheriff Ingram told me that he would love to have me attend, so I'm coming. Thank you, Sheriff. Pam Ferenstein, a dear friend of mine from Brunswick County, she says, these two deputies got it together, and she loves your attitudes. And so that's one of the reasons why, you know, I reached out, because I wanted people to see how amazing you guys are, because all we see are vehicles riding down the street. Tonight, our viewers get a chance to see the man behind the badge, or the men behind the badge. And that was my whole purpose when I was speaking with Emily and Felicia. I said, we need to see this. Our audience may be different, you know, and so I wanted my audience to see this. So tell me, when you stop a vehicle, I know sometimes fear accompanies that, because every situation is different. So what are some of the things? And First Sergeant, I love the fact that faith is important to you. And I don't know how people do it without it as well. And it is refreshing to know that you walk in it. So thank you for sharing that. That's another thing that we get to see tonight behind the badge. Your turn, sir.
But yeah, as far as whenever stopping a vehicle, yeah, like First Sergeant said, that there is that moment where you get a little bit of an adrenaline dump just because of what I said earlier. I mean, you don't know exactly what you're stepping into. But for me, it is a lot of falling back on your training. You got to do what you got to do. This is what we're here for. And when it comes down to it, I fall back on my faith. I know that God's got my back pretty much in every situation that I go through. And I just got to rely on my training, rely on God, and just know that I've got to make it out okay.
Exactly. You got to make it home.
Yeah.
At the end of the night, we want you guys to make it home to your families. Miss Russ says she's proud to call David my brother-in-law.
Hi, Caitlin.
Yeah. So thank you, Peggy Galloway, Stephanie Bloodworth, Missy Clemens. She says, two great men, and proud to call them my work family. Thank you so much, Missy, for signing on. And they are amazing. Sheriff Ingram, we're excited about your leadership in Brunswick County, and you've always been one of my favorites. I remember watching Chef Ingram, and I hope this doesn't get me in trouble. I worked at ATMC, and it was Dancing with the Stars, right? So Chef Ingram, do you remember that, Emily? Chef Ingram was dancing, and he come out in a cage with one of those old uniforms that they used to wear. I was like, you better work it, Sheriff Ingram. And that was my first time. And that was years and years ago. I used to work at ATMC, and he danced with the stars. And I mean, he was doing it. I was like, okay, Chef, we see what you're working with. I'm going to keep it professional and keep moving. But I had to put that in. So thank you all for signing on. Tyrese, thank you so much. Ray Hankins, Beverly Ann Jeffries, thank you so much. Tiffany Jones, Pamela Respus, thank you, Cedron Emerson, so much. Martrina for signing on. Michelle Hand, Patricia Brown, Yvette Bryant, my classmate. Thank you guys for your support. Angela Tootin is watching from Burgaw, North Carolina, the big city. I'm originally from Burgaw. Dale Murray, thank you so much for signing. Felicia Woodick, thank you so much for taking care of this and helping me behind the scenes. Tanya Lawton and Vanessa Reeves, we thank each of you for signing on and sharing this video, because we want the Respus Live viewers to see the amazing officers that we have serving and protecting us in Brunswick County. So we're talking about behind the badge and how we found out what they like to do when they're not working. It is great because you have to be able, with your job and it being stressful, you have to find some ways to release, and you have to find some downtime. And I know you both know that well. And it's so important that you do that because when you have a stressful job, and you don't know how it's going to end out because you can't plan your day. When you sign on, you can't plan how it's going to what's going to happen throughout your tour of duty. So I do again want to thank you for your service for Brunswick County. We're so blessed to have such amazing officers and such amazing leadership with our Sheriff Ingram, and he has done an amazing job. And I support Chef Ingram 110%, and I enjoy living in Brunswick County and knowing that the Brunswick County Sheriff's Office got my back if anything happens. Daryl and Morgan, thank you so much for signing on. Ada Fullwood and Valerie Bland, thank you guys for signing on tonight. Thank you all for the questions. I couldn't get to all of them. You know, I'm technically challenged trying to do several things at one time, but thank you guys so much for signing on. And I wanted to end just with maybe some encouragement for you guys, and just I want to make sure that you understand that we actually support you and what you do, and we're proud of the service that you render to the citizens of Brunswick County, and the reputation that Brunswick County Sheriff's Office has is amazing, and it speaks for leadership. You know, and we have amazing leadership in Brunswick County. So we thank you for your service. Chef Ingram, we thank you for your leadership and the service of all the officers and how you serve and protect us, because we don't take it lightly. I love going to sleep at night knowing that, you know, we're good in Brunswick County, that, you know, we know you can't stop everything and you can't control everything, but the things that you can control and the things you can't stop, you do that. So we definitely thank you for your service and for how you protect us. And I want to reiterate that all officers are not bad, and that we have some very good officers, and don't judge one person or don't judge other people by the action of one person. And that's the main reason why I wanted you guys on tonight, because I wanted people to see behind the badge are human beings. And I love the fact that you guys were open and shared some things personal about yourself, because that's what we wanted our audience to see, that these men, they want to make it home at night. They want to make it home too. Just like I want my daughter to come home at night, I pray that you all make it home safely as well. And that's very important. So again, thank you so much. And before we close, I just want to see if there's anything you want to share before we go off air. First Sergeant?
I've just been blown away by the support I've seen. From the citizens of Brunswick County, yes, and even other places. Just sitting down eating breakfast, had somebody from Texas come up and buy our breakfast and tell us thank you for our service.
Wow.
Not even from here. And just blown away by how people have gone out of their way to make sure we know that they know that we have their backs and they have our backs, and that we're working together, and we're people.
Yes.
And we're all trying to reach a common goal, keep everyone safe. Mm-hmm. And it's great to see that everyone's out there supporting us. Mm-hmm. It's trying times for sure with COVID and everything else going on.
That's true.
But I'm excited for what the future holds.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, First Sergeant. Yes, sir, Deputy.
Right there with First Sergeant. I mean, it's an amazing amount of support that we've seen from the community. Me personally, I mean, I could be out in the middle of the heat directing traffic, and somebody will just swing by, offer me a bottle of water, and just thank me for what I'm doing. It's like, you didn't have to do that, but thanks.
Yeah.
So, yeah, really appreciate the community. Appreciate you for allowing us to share tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for coming. I understand you're off and you came on your...
It's not a problem.
I appreciate that. I'm very honored that you would take the time out your schedule to do that, to come and share with our audience, because it's essential that we understand that the men behind the badge are people, and they're human, and we really appreciate what you do and protect and serve us. And so again, thank you all for watching Respus Live and joining us. Thank you for doing this, sharing the broadcast and the watch parties. Do want to give a shout out to our sponsors. If you would like to sponsor Respus Live, the sponsorship is tax free, so please let me know. I want to thank Francine Corbett for her sponsorship, as well as Cornelius Hamilton, Pastor Frank from Brunswick County. Thank you so much. And Mr. Austin, I thank you so much for sponsoring Respus Live. I do want to give a shout out to my makeup artist, Beauty by Drea. Thank you so much, girl, for always making sure I look good. A&A Promotion, thank you for the Respus Live theme music. That is some hot music. Thank you so much, Antron. My wardrobe and jewelry tonight is by Manic Makeover Design by Sheena Hewitt. Thank you, Sheena, for making sure I'm straight, because sometimes I get my colors mixed up. So thank you so much for making sure that I look good on tonight. I appreciate that. And so here's to 2020 and living our best life. I want to encourage you, whenever you have an opportunity, to thank the officers, not only of Brunswick County, but any officer. Take the time to let them know that you appreciate what they do, because again, we want to let them know that we thank them for the good that they do in our communities, and that they're here to protect and serve us. Again, thank you so much for signing on tonight. I hope each of you will have an amazing week, and may his peace be with you until we meet again. Good night. God bless. Excellent job, gentlemen. Thank you guys so much for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Such a pleasure.